Why is Season of Discovery the future of World of Warcraft? All right, let's watch this last video here.
Hard work, accomplishments, and rewards that matter. Things that playing World of Warcraft will not give you. Yet for some reason, it feels like it does. For more reasons than there are words, Classic is one of the most beloved versions of World of Warcraft. Every player will tell you a different reason for why they love Classic, and why they refuse to play Retail or refuse to play Wrath of the Lich King past Ulduar. Mainly because you realize that you don't want all your gear to be invalidated within a patch or two, or that you don't really want to raid Ulduar or Icecrown Citadel for 2 years. But most of those reasons can be condensed into the 3 reasons I provided at the very beginning. A large population of Classic's player base grew up with these games and have a very deep and compelling memory of a better time, and a time that rewarded your sweatiness and your hard work. And even though Dragonflight is one of the best versions of World of Warcraft in a long time, not counting the story, because while Dragonflight wasn't bad, it was disappointing by the power and friendship and all that. Now, while WoW's story has been terrible for quite some time, that's not the reason the player base of Classic won't play it. It's just simply not World of Warcraft to a lot of people, not anymore. The soul of what makes Warcraft has been lost to us. And you can feel that the longer you play into Classic life.
The soul of World of Warcraft, guys, is player-to-player interaction and feeling like you know people in the world that you're playing in. And remembering people that you play with. It's a long way of saying friends. The soul of an MMO is making friends. And I don't feel like I made any friends in retail in a really, really long time. And I really feel like half the people that are in my chat right now, I made friends with them playing hardcore Classic WoW. I have made so many friends playing hardcore Classic WoW and almost none in retail. And that's what I think he's talking about when he's referencing the soul of the game.
Life cycle, even Wrath of the Lich King, is the same.
That's why I enjoy being cutting edge raider, because I make friends. Now, mythic raiding and being in a guild is one of the best ways to make friends in retail. But you also have a lot of toxicity that goes along with it. So if you enjoy mythic raiding or just raiding in general, and you're able to, you like the people that you're playing with and you're able to find a guild that you like, that can be a really good way that you can make friends in retail. And I think it's one of the best ways to make friends in retail. But it is a double-edged sword because it's a toxic environment too, because there's usually 1 or 2 guys that are like holding you back a lot of times, and you tend to get frustrated at them. Whereas in Classic, you don't really experience the frustration a lot with people because the raids are easy enough to where you just need anyone. Any warm body can fill the raid, and you guys can usually clear the content. And so you don't hold any animosity towards people because they're holding you back from getting the loot. And it's the greed a lot of times that prevents us from the friendships. And in Classic WoW, there's less of that. There's less of the greed because you always kill the bosses for the most part. And then you have people like Tiny Violin. Nice. There's a different type of friction in Classic versus retail rating, for sure.
Community, the player base, the very way we play the game has shifted to a way that makes each continued iteration of Classic somehow worse than it was before. And it's precisely because of that the return of Chris Metzen has retail WoW's future looking bright. And even more than that, it's the reason Season of Discovery is so popular and beloved. And you're gonna see a billion comments saying Season of Discovery is terrible, worst game, it's boring. Ignore them. A lot of people just spend a lot of their time hating for no reason. Even if some of those criticisms are valid, but most of them aren't. Because it gives us, the player base, what we want the most. A World of Warcraft that is a continuation of what made WoW special and stand out in comparison to most other MMOs. Whilst I can't speak for retail at the moment because I have no clue what's going to happen, for Season of Discovery, I can absolutely say that this is the best version of Warcraft in a long, long time. Some of you may disagree, and I'd like to hear your reasons for why in the comments below. SoD has done exactly what I wanted for Classic to feel fresh and unique. We are a little over 3 months into Season of Discovery, and in that that time, we have 2 new level up raids, a dozen new crafting recipes, professions feeling compelling, the world being full and active, a whole new reputation, which is a little lackluster, and then 2 massive new PvP events, which despite their massive problems, has been an overall success in terms of new gameplay and elements. Nonetheless, when you consider that the massive success of Season of Discovery, even just now, before the product is even finished, you can see how much hope and fun is crammed into it. Season of Mastery, the predecessor of SoD, was okay, but it was simply a harder classic without much more to it. If the jump from Season of Mastery to Season of Discovery was so massive, can you imagine the future? We already know we're getting even more content between now and the end of the Season of Discovery. We have Phase 3 being Sunken Temple remastered into a new level up raid, and perhaps another new PvP event, but I'm not sure if there will be one, we'll have to wait and see. The roadmap doesn't show another PvP event, so I don't want to say that there will be one, but there could be. And then potentially we have Caravan Crypt in Phase...
I didn't realize that there's not going to be another PvP world event. That's interesting that it doesn't show it on the timeline. I did not even think about that.
For, if not one of the other remastered dungeons that they can pick from. A whole new raid that has never been seen before and is a completely original idea. There are so many unique ways and things they can do. Hearthglen for more Scarlet Crusade stuff. Karazhan for Medivh and the creepiness. And other places throughout Azeroth that could be these unique new raids that people want. And even though these are ideas from the original vanilla alpha and beta, which was scrapped due to a lack of time, things are being brought back for Season of Discovery. And it's the very first foray into Classic Plus, and the whole new content in a large scale where utilizing
Karazhan raid, I think, would be the best thing to add.
A whole new one. And yes, you can get the Karazhan.
I think a lot of people would like to see Karazhan in Season of Discovery. And the Karazhan Crypts as a dungeon would be a great thing to do for like a Prebis, an additional Prebis farm. Maybe even a Heroic Plus, like a Mythic Plus, but they call it Heroic Plus, I guess, in Season of Discovery. I would really like to see Heroic Plus dungeons added into the game, like any type of Mythic Plus style content. I think would be very healthy for the game, and it would keep people more engaged. It is a sweaty type of thing, but I enjoy that in the game, and a lot of people disagree, but I think it would be awesome. The chess event. Dude, the chess event's going to take out half a classic.
Crypts are getting out of bounds and exploring the creepy and wondrous idea it could have been. Same thing with Hearthglen and all these other places. You mean
Karazhan is in the TBC raid? Yeah, so guys, Karazhan was actually made to be a part of Classic, but then Blizzard figured out that they could probably make more money. Instead of releasing Karazhan in Classic, they could release it in a new expansion called The Burning Crusade. So Karazhan was always meant to be a Classic raid. So what we're thinking is that they might release it in Season of Discovery. It's already there in Classic, the raid. It's physically there. So they could just allow you to zone in.
Getting a scrapped and abandoned or lightly used location, we're getting a fully fledged new location that is also a level up raid. Now what that location will be is up to debate, because we thought we were getting SM for Phase 3 and we got Sunken Temple instead. So I'm not going to play that guessing game, but it's going to be insane and awesome regardless. And that is massive for the player base and game as a whole, because it shows that the developers are able to continue to develop Classic WoW. As fun as the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King are, they are not Classic WoW. No. They are a continuation, no matter how close they are on paper. It is the classic form.
I'm going to tell you this, guys. What I think one of the major issues is in a lot of these expansions is that at some point your character will be useless. And so it's like a never-ending expansion, a never-ending raid, never-ending Mythic Plus grind. It's just like, if you're really a min-maxer in retail, the day you take a day off, you're falling behind. And it's always felt that way for me when I play retail. Like, it's made for like the ultra sweaties who can no-life the game every day. And that's why people play it. They do like the normal or the heroic raid, and then they just quit, because they know they can't keep up with it. Whereas like in Classic WoW, everything you do, you come back to it a year, 2 years later, and you're in the same spot. And so it just has this way of respecting your time. And so I think that the game was better at level 60 and having level 60 just kind of be the max level and having all of the raids still provide you with some of your BIS items. And that was what was great about the game, is like the gear progression was so good leading up to Nax and stuff. And you needed the gear and stuff in order to clear Nax. So at some point it's like, do you really want more expansions, or did you really want level 60 World of Warcraft with some, maybe throw in some infinite content grinds so that you can win titles and stuff like that? So I don't know if we want continuous new raids and new levels and if we want to continuously make our old gear useless in a way. Heroic Plus would be great for the game. People disagree just to be different. Yeah, they will. That's 100% true. If I show up in less optimal gear half the time, I'm booted for being dog shit. As you should be, Glub. That's fair if we're talking season to season or X-Back to X-Back, but there's really only a massive time push for the first 2 to 3 weeks of each season and M plus to gear for raid. Some people would argue, Brooding, that you need to raid to get gear for Mythic Plus. Because Mythic Plus is the true end game. The raid can be beaten. Mythic Plus can't be beaten. So I argue that I have to do the raid so I can get gear for Mythic Plus. That's the way I look at it. And I just don't want to do it. What do you think a rune 100% PvP that reduces damage taken from players and pets 30% and a chance of getting criticals from players and pets 10%? That way PvP gear will no be necessary. That's a really, really good idea, Wotor. I really like that idea. A rune that just... It could be a rune, or it could be an item, or it could just be baseline whenever you're hitting another player. I think that would be awesome. Something like that, where it would take away the one shots. We wouldn't have to have 2 sets of gear. And whenever you're doing PvP, the damage is just reduced and the crits and everything is reduced. So it could even out the damage and maybe make healing useful again. And they're going to have to do something about the silence times. Like, playing a healer, casting as a healer right now is just, it's not fun. It's useless. You can't heal anyone through any damage anyway in STV, so you might as well just all go damage and just rush at people. And so it feels a bit of a Zerg fest instead of more of like a strategic 5-man where you're trying to outplay your opponents. And maybe that's what they wanted it to be, but right now it does not feel good to cast anything, especially heals in Stranglethorn Vale. I think they need to revamp the gear from BWL and Nax. Well, they'll be revamping everything and scaling it to the new difficulty with the amount of damage that we're doing. And then after that, release Karazhan or SM raid, and it will be the highest raid content in the game. Do you guys think that they should release harder content than Nax, or should Nax be the hard content? We want new, harder content than Nax. I play retail as a seasonal game. New season raid comes, I'll smash it for 1 or 2 months, then quit and come back next season. Manny, I think that's the best way to play retail. When is resilience coming to SoD? Hopefully never. I don't want to farm more different sets of gear on every single character. For me, I like to look at it like, is the game alt friendly or is it not? And if it's whatever change that they do or whatever system they add in the game, if it's less friendly to alts, then I'm usually not for it. Which is why I really like boosted XP and account-wide rep and account-wide runes that are the same rune. It's so easy to make money that way. Heroic raid trinkets are good enough. True. That's what I think too, Brooding. Like, you don't really need to do mythic raid. And if you get lucky, you can get a heroic you can get a mythic trinket from heroic now, right? I just pop on for the trader chest, to be honest. What trader chest? I don't even know what that is. I'm not much of a PvP in arenas. But arenas and SoD could be a play too. Well, the game is not balanced at all for the arenas, and that might be too much for the SoD devs to handle, because that requires an entirely separate team that's balancing classes for PvP, and it's a nightmare. They still are trying to do it in retail today. You know what I mean? Like I think it's asking too much from Season of Discovery developers to put arenas in the game. I think it's beyond what they're capable of with their budget and everything. I think one slot should be a universal rune slot. Would be fun combos. That would be nice, so that we don't have to farm like Dark Riders on every single character. That'd be amazing. The problem with PvP damage is that many things are just impossible to counterplay. Exactly. And like you can get sheep for 30 seconds, guys. Like that can't happen in the arena. You know what I mean? Like silence for 10 seconds. You won't be able to cast anything. You won't be able to play like Holy Paladin in the arena. Like in TBC, they started balancing for arena, and it's tough. Dark Riders is 30k XP now, so at least you get that. That is true if you can get into a group before you hit 40. It's the cosmetic changes that change monthly. You find an org or the faction dependent. Okay, cosmetics is a really good way to play retail. I think that the cosmetic farmers, the mount farmers, and stuff like that is a fun way to play retail that is not in any other version of the game. The collector meta. And that is definitely one of the end games of retail that I think is really cool. Yeah, the collector meta is good. I like the collector meta. I don't personally dabble in it, but I think it's an awesome thing and a different way to play the game. You got the mount last night. Congrats, King Kim Jim. He's on that mount now, baby. Congrats, bro.
Formula that changed to be fitting for that particular expansion. A classic private server, a TBC private server, and a Wrath of the Lich King private server are 3 different games, even if they are built upon the predecessors. And as a classic player and someone who is wholly invested into the Season of Discovery, I can say that this path and future is exciting beyond words. Because once Season of Discovery ends, and it will, we already know that there are 5 phases as of now, and whilst they might expand upon it by virtue of its name, it's seasonal content, so it will end. But when it does, it will lead into something far bigger and better, and that thing is Classic Plus, a dream that many people have had for a long time. In fact, they've dreamed about it for so long that there are well over a dozen private servers all claiming themselves to be the successors of Classic WoW.
Guys, is Season of Discovery a beta for a fresh Classic Plus? Is Season of Discovery a beta for a fresh Classic Plus? Hopefully, better be, hopefully. I think that is the best case scenario, guys, is that we are all playing a beta for Classic Plus, and we get a fresh launch, and they delete the Season of Discovery servers. I think that would be insane. It is a seasonal server, after all. Maybe SoD is Classic Plus, but they can at any point delete the servers because it's a seasonal server. Every other seasonal server that we've gotten, they have gotten rid of them. They allowed you to transfer your character, but there's nowhere to transfer your SoD characters to because it's a completely new game. You can't transfer them to Era. SoD is BIS, so I'm hoping so. What does Classic Plus entail? Honeypaw, Classic Plus would be once they figure out all the class balances, all the raids, the difficulty, the gear, what classes need to be buffed and nerfed, and the game is running in a very healthy state. They delete everything and start it over, and they do a fresh launch of the game in its finished state. No shot they'll delete them. They don't need to delete them, but I think it would be sick if they did. Because a fresh start, they only release the old raids, and then they have new content that they release in a Classic Plus, which is Season of Discovery with all the class balances and changes leading up to Nax, and then they release that, and then they have a Classic Plus release where they release a new raid like Karazhan Crypts, and some other content that they have in the pipeline. I'm definitely reaching here, but you know, it's seasonal. It's a seasonal. The only reason I have this thought is because it's a seasonal server, and the last seasonal servers got deleted. No shot they'll delete them. They already said they'll have a different type of realm to transfer to, and it's going to be something fun. They did say that. When did they say that, Kinetic? I'm hoping so hard you're reaching. I know. So how would they implement the runes in Classic Plus? Well, the thing is, Classic Plus would just have the runes. You gotta understand, Classic Plus is Season of Discovery. It's just you start at level. Everyone starts again at level 1, and then they add in like the new raids and everything. By that time, Ashes will be out and the Riot MMO. This is too much copium. It was in an interview with someone. Okay, maybe it was in one of the interviews with one of the YouTubers. I just want reworked talent trees. So many talents are completely useless right now. Well, that's the thing is that's why we're in the Season of Discovery, because the devs are discovering how to balance the game too. But once they've figured it out and everyone's happy with the state of the game, then they could delete Season of Discovery servers and call it Classic Plus and do a fresh launch of it with maybe new content announced. They never said there will be a different type of realm to transfer to. They just said, we don't know yet, but it'll be something fun. It was in the Comeback Kids interview. Okay. Moonkin, Melee, Hunter, both going to fall off hard after 40 without new talents. I don't think that Moonkin was ever meant to be top damage. They're kind of a hybrid class that can heal and do damage. So I think that they're in a decent spot, to be honest. They're the best hybrid healing class. You know, Wild Growth over Vamp Embrace any day. I think they're in a good spot.
WoW. Total WoW being the biggest of them all as of now. Season Discovery has shown us how popular Classic with extra stuff is, and Classic Plus has the potential to help Classic explode in popularity in a way that very few could predict. Nobody expected Classic when it came out in 2019 to be as massive as it is. Well, a lot of people did, but a lot of people doubted it. And here we are. It is a huge part of WoW's modern day player base. Now, whether they'll do Classic Plus correctly, that's debatable considering how many mistakes Blizzard has made in the past decade, including the recent but very apparent lack of customer support, which is atrocious for a company that brings in as much money as Blizzard and Microsoft do. I'm not going to talk about the ban situation in depth, but even if 10% of the bans are false and unjustified, being unable to reach someone who can actually check and verify is a terrible situation. Blizzard, you need customer support, and it's a travesty that you don't have it. Nonetheless, if the Season of Discovery team is in charge of Classic Plus, I actually have very high hopes. Agrid and his team have done an amazing job talking to us, discussing things, and telling us why they do things, which is a needed breath of fresh air for World of Warcraft in general.
The devs
Predicting
have been,
Classic Plus and what it will be, though,
informed.
like I said, it's a dangerous slope because it could be so many different things. Vanilla WoW Remastered, similar to Cataclysm updating the game world, but instead of changing like Cataclysm changed it, it would still be vanilla. Or just going with the original extra content like Hyjal, Ajara Crater, Caverns of Time, Gilneas, Gil'jim's Isle, Grimbatol, Rank 15, which is really cool by the way, and
Rank
more.
15?
Things as simple as Stratholme leading into Naxxramas like it was intended, but for some reason changed. There are so many raids, dungeons, PvP instances, questlines, open world locations, and more that got removed, changed, scrapped, or abandoned. And that is the reason that Season of Discovery and Classic Plus is so popular and will be so popular. People simply want Classic, they just want more Classic. Just
more
like
Classic.
old school RuneScape is simply old school RuneScape with more. Classic doesn't have to turn into the Burning Crusade and onward.
Why does everyone always references RuneScape? I feel like RuneScape, like WoW is just RuneScape 2.0 at this point. Like WoW is just doing everything that RuneScape has already done. Even with the hardcore, and then like the hardcore Iron Man, and then old school, and then old school plus, you know, old school RuneScape, new content. Like I feel like the WoW timeline is following the RuneScape timeline so closely.
It simply needs to be Classic Plus. So thank you for partaking in this massive dosage of copium. If you want more copium, subscribe, like this video, and then watch this video right here. Thank you all for
All right. Hell yeah. I'm going to sub to Ebonheart. That was a good video.